A U.S. submarine torpedoed an Iranian warship now sinking in the Indian Ocean, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said Wednesday.
Yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, and we'll play it on the screen there, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win.
Today, early morning, MRCC received
Sri Lanka's foreign minister told Parliament that Sri Lanka's Navy received information that the ship Iris Dina, with 180 people on board, was in distress and sinking. Sri Lanka's Navy said Wednesday it recovered 87 bodies and rescued 32 people. The Iranian naval ship sank outside Sri Lanka's territorial waters, officials added. The search and rescue operation is ongoing.
Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has reiterated his firm opposition to the war in Iran, distancing his country from the US-led military offensive during an emergency press conference this Wednesday. Despite critical remarks and threats of a trade embargo from US President Donald Trump, the socialist leader continues to advocate for a diplomatic resolution.
La posición del Gobierno de España se resume en 4 palabras: no a la guerra. Nosotros repudiamos al régimen de Irán, que reprime, que mata vilmente a sus ciudadanos, particularmente a las mujeres. Pero al mismo tiempo rechazamos este conflicto y pedimos una solución diplomática y política.
Diplomatic tensions erupted after the Spanish government vetoed the use of the Rota and Moron military bases for the campaign. In response, Donald Trump has labeled Spain a terrible partner and hinted a total trade freeze between the two nations.
Didn't do it. And now Spain actually said that we can't use their bases, and that's all right. We could use their base if we want. We could just fly in and use it. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it.
Sanchez, however, remained firm, asserting that one cannot respond to one illegality with another, and that the priority remains protecting the civilian population. Recalling the consequences of the 2003 Iraq War, he warned against repeating the mistakes of the past. In Brussels, the EU has closed ranks around Madrid. Vice President of the Commission, Teresa Ribera, warned Washington that foreign trade is negotiated as a bloc and any sanctions against Spain would be met with a collective response.
These are the weapons at the centre of a rapidly escalating situation. Iranian drones and missiles that have targeted the UAE over the past several days. They are being displayed here at the UAE government media briefing as part of physical evidence of the attacks, which officials describe as a direct violation of the country's sovereignty and security. Authorities say that more than 90% of incoming drones and missiles have been successfully intercepted by the UAE's air defence systems. A figure presented as proof of both preparedness and advanced defensive capability.
And what you see in front of you here, this is a tactical ballistic missile, which is basically a short-range ballistic missile from class, and the designation for it is Qiyam. And we have intercepted and destroyed hundreds of these ballistic missiles over the last 4 days. And if we move up to here, what you see here, the blue wreckage, is basically a cruise missile. And those threats are normally very challenging for militaries across the world to basically detect and destroy. But luckily, we were able to detect each one of them and destroy them. And what you see here is one of the several cruise missiles that we were able to intercept and destroy.
And as I understand it, this is a suicide drone, isn't it?
This is what is left from a suicide drone.
Yeah.
And it's called Shahid 136. We've intercepted hundreds of these over the last few days.
So we hear and see things at the last minute, but from a military perspective, I think globally it's known that you're seeing these things fairly early, so you know they're coming in and you're prepared accordingly.
We announced this repeatedly to the public, and we want to reassure the public again. And if they hear pops and sounds coming out of the sky, that's actually a comforting sound. It's a comforting noise. What it means that the air defense system is functioning properly to intercept, destroy all of these threats.
How proud?
Silence is actually not good. The UAE air defense system is very capable of defending the country, and we're very aware of the threats around it. We will continue to defend the country, and that's what we're going to do.
We're now into the 5th day of war since the United States and Israel began strikes on Iran. And here in Qatar, tensions remain high. The country's Ministry of Defense says at dawn on Wednesday, its air and naval defenses successfully intercepted 10 drones and 2 cruise missiles launched from Iran. Throughout the day, Euronews journalists saw 2 combat helicopters patrolling the skies over Doha together with American and British Air Force planes in a reinforced security perimeter of the city. Qatar's cabinet reiterated its strong condemnation of, quote, successive waves of Iranian attacks on Qatar that it calls a flagrant violation of its sovereignty. Meanwhile, the Qatar news agency reported the arrest of 2 sleeper cells allegedly linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard. Q&A said 10 suspects had been detained, 7 accused of spying on vital military infrastructure, and 3 allegedly tasked with carrying out sabotage operations. The economic impact of this widening war is also sending shockwaves around the world. Qatar Energy declared force majeure on Wednesday, just 2 days after 2 of its liquefied natural gas facilities were attacked and forced to pause production. Force majeure is a legal term used when a company cannot meet its contractual obligations due to circumstances beyond its control. Meanwhile, Qatar's airspace remains closed, and Qatar Airways says the next update for passengers is expected on Friday. Adil Halim, Euronews, Doha.
The US consulate here in Dubai Creek was hit overnight in a drone attack, resulting in a fire. Now, the UAE and Qatar are very much aligned in that Iran has crossed a red line and has lost its compass, they say. The other developing news overnight was that 2 Iranian sleeper cells were arrested in Qatar. This will, of course, send ruffles through the security community around the globe for fear there could be further Revolutionary Guard operatives active in other countries. Yesterday, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Dubai and also in Doha held press conferences reassuring people that they have enough air defense ammunition to protect the country. Also, in addition to that, of course, those repatriation flights are continuing out of DXB today. Qatar Airways have suspended their flights again. We've just heard a little bit earlier today, but the interesting thing in terms of the flights here in the UAE specifically, we are hearing about repatriation flights, people wanting to come back into the country and return home. Jane Witherspoon, Euronews in Dubai.
Reverse migration is surging as Damascus opens border crossings to thousands of Syrians fleeing escalating Israeli attacks in Lebanon. Amid deteriorating security, approximately 11,000 travelers, mostly Syrians, arrived on Monday via Dajdedat Yabous and Jusia crossings.
وضع منيح مش منيح القصف والضرب جينا على بلدنا بدنا نرجع. العملة السورية جينا والله ما عملته منيحة بس إنه عذبونا شوي كتير.
Syrian authorities have mobilized medical teams and simplified procedures to ensure quick and safe entry, even for those who previously left the country illegally. Returnees interviewed by Euronews described their decision as a voluntary escape from indiscriminate strikes in Beirut and beyond.
جايين من بيروت عرفت كيف؟ هاي العالم كلها جاي من بيروت، هربانة من الضرب يعني ضرب عشوائي، يعني اليوم إسرائيل عم تضرب ضرب عشوائي، العالم فلت بحالها شو عم تركض يمين شمال بس بدها تخلص. إيه؟ الطريق تعبان يعني مضروب الطريق مرتين 3 مضروب على الطرقات. هلا العالم مبسوط انه جاي على سوريا بدها تعيش ببلد عرشون امن عرشون تستقر تحاول تستقر عرشون بلدها.
Despite the economic challenges awaiting them in Syria, many noted that the security of the homeland is favorable to the current violence unfolding in Lebanon. This mass exodus marks a dramatic demographic reversal, turning a decade of migration towards Lebanon into a desperate trek back home.
The European Commission on Wednesday unveiled its long-awaited industrial plan called Industrial Accelerator Act, rolling out a European preference that shuts China out of European public funding and tightens the screws on Beijing's future investment in the EU. The strategy targets 3 strategic sectors: clean technologies, car manufacturers and energy-intensive industries such as aluminium, steel and cement.
Si nous ne faisons rien, aujourd'hui, il est fort probable que 100% des technologies sur les clean tech soient produites à 100% en Chine dans les prochaines années. Il est fort probable que notre industrie du ciment, notre industrie de l'acier soit à 100% délocalisée dans les prochaines années. Et donc si nous considérons que ces technologies doivent être stratégiques et doivent permettre justement à l'Union européenne d'assurer à la fois la question technologique mais en même temps la production européenne, il nous faut des outils à la fois de défense commerciale et en même temps des outils de production en Europe.
The proposal introduces Made in Europe thresholds, including a 70% EU content requirement for electric vehicles, with notable exceptions for most battery components, 25% for aluminium and 25% for cement. In the end, the Commission has proposed extending EU origin status to products coming from trading partners with free trade agreements that apply reciprocity, notably in public procurement contracts. That excludes China and the US, which do not enjoy any such agreements with the bloc, but it might also exclude more like-minded partners such as Canada, where a Buy Canadian policy might apply soon to EU companies.